Cardinals baseball. This afternoon from Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. It's the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. And welcome to Cardinals baseball. That's Rick Horton. I'm Dan McLaughlin. It is warm. It's sunny. We don't mean to rub it in. It's hot down here at Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, and it's been a very good camp thus far for Mike Shilt's club.
It sure has. Starting pitching's been good today. It's Michael Wacha. If you take a look, Dan, at all of the Cardinals starters, the one you might forget about is Michael Wacha, despite the fact that he's been a 17-game winner in the big leagues. Wacha making start number 2 this spring. He was good last time out. Not great, but good. The key for Wacha is to make himself memorable for sure by being healthy all season long.
He is a free agent to be, as Ricky mentioned last Sunday in his debut. He was outstanding. We also highlight the Cardinals leadoff man here in 2019, and that's Matt Carpenter.
Leadoff hitter and third baseman. So all eyes will be on the defensive Matt Carpenter. He's off to a good spring training offensively.
Many of the regulars are in the lineup today for Mike Shilt's club. It's the Miami Marlins. It's the St. Louis Cardinals. It's a packed house today at Roger Dean Stadium. Well, sit back, warm up in St. Louis. Why not? Sun shining brightly here in Jupiter, and baseball. St. Louis Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. Shelter Insurance. For your auto, home, and life. We're your shield. We're your shelter. And by Steak and Shake. Come into Steak and Shake and get 4 meals with 4 items for $4. 4-4-4. Get more for 4. Only at Steak and Shake. Roger Dean Stadium in Jupiter, Florida. The Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals on a beautiful day here in Jupiter. Along with Ricky Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. The St. Louis Cardinals are 2-3-2. The Marlins are 2-5 in this young season. And it's the second start of spring for right-hander Michael Wacha.
Well, you look at Wacha last season, 8-2 record with a 3.20 ERA, was on his way to being an all-star, to being one of the top pitchers in the league, and he got hurt again. So key again for Wacha is to be out there for the entire season. Career numbers, he's been a winner. He's won 21 more games than he's lost, ERA under 4. And we know about that year in 2015 when he won all those games. He was outstanding, and just love to see him healthy, Dan, for 6 months.
That has been the key. Can he stay healthy? And it's, for him personally, such a big season because he is a free agent to be.
And interesting that the Cardinals are playing the Marlins again today. Mike Schilt certainly got off to a good start in his career as a manager. Last August was particularly good, 41-28 record for him. But the Marlins and several other National League East teams, we see them a ton here in spring training. We see the Mets, we see the Braves, we see the Nationals, and we sure do see the Marlins.
Take a look at Don Mattingly's lineup here this afternoon. The longtime major leaguer Curtis Granderson will serve as the designated hitter. Martin Prado, then Brian Anderson, one of their top young stars. Peter O'Brien, JT Riddle, Lewis Brenton having a good spring. Isan Diaz, Austin Dean, and Brian Holiday, the catcher. Crowd starting to pick up, in particular with the St. Louis Cardinals in their fan base. As now you turn the calendar to March and you start seeing the red in the seats, even though the Marlins have some of the home dates that are shared in this complex, but yet it is always Cardinal red in the seats.
And it's amazing, Dan, that we've already had a week worth of games already, and it's only the 2nd of March.
And before you know it, it will be the 28th of March. And when that happens, we'll be in Milwaukee, and the temperatures will be a little bit cooler at that ballpark, but yet you'll have the roof closed, you would assume, and it'll be opening day for the St. Louis Cardinals and opening day around Major League Baseball. The 2-0 pitch to Curtis Granderson is pulled foul, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Curtis Granderson, he's been around a long time. The Tigers, the Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Blue Jays, and then finished up last season with the Milwaukee Brewers. And this will be, if he can make the club, his 16th Major League season. 3-time All-Star and truly one of the nicest people in the game. As the Cardinals now shift with the shortstop Drew Robinson going to the right side.
And Danny, if you look at the outfielders that he's competing with, I wouldn't see why he wouldn't be the opening day left fielder. There's certainly Lewis Brinson is a guy that they're going to give all the opportunity in the world, and a couple of other guys, including Magneuris Sierra, former Cardinal, that will get a look. But I see Granderson making this team.
Austin Dean is their left fielder today, and Austin Dean is one of their young prospects that they really like. And the full count delivery delivered by Michael Wacha. Slapped to the right side, handled easily by Goldschmidt. The Gold Glover puts it away for out number 1. And the defense for the St. Louis Cardinals. Rosarena in left field. Munoz is in center. Dexter Fowler in right. And along the infield, it's Matt Carpenter, Drew Robinson, Edmundo Sosa, Paul Goldschmidt at first base, and Pena behind the plate. And that pitch is strike to the second batter in this lineup, Martin Prado.
Rosarena playing left field today. He celebrated a birthday this week. It's Adolis Garcia's birthday today.
One ball and 1 strike. Martin Prado has been on the disabled list 7 times combined the last 2 years. Chop left side. Carpenter makes the play easily, and there's 2 down. And it brings in Brian Anderson, who was really a bright spot in what otherwise was a very tough year again for the Marlins. He was 4th in the balloting for the Rookie of the Year in the National League. It went to Ronald Acuna Jr., and then it was Juan Soto, Walker Buehler, then Brian Anderson. After that, Jack Flaherty and Harrison Bader. Hit .273, 11 home runs, and drove in 65.
Good, solid player. They're looking for more power from Anderson. It's something Don Mattingly thinks is there. And it's not that he didn't have a productive season. Obviously, the numbers you talked about and the finish in the Rookie of the Year race, but they want him to be a middle of the lineup guy.
And the Cardinals shifting here. How much will Mike Shildt, with a full offseason to really dive into the analytics and looking at shifts, how much will the Cardinals shift this year?
Well, think about Goldschmidt as far off the bag as he is right now, and he's, of course, a big person of interest for us, and a lot of hopes that Goldschmidt will have a big year. Way off the bag. You might shift more, Dan, when you have more confidence in the defensive ability, range-wise, of some of your players, particularly first baseman.
And a swing and a miss and a strikeout from Michael Wacha. Coming up, the top of the lineup for St. Louis. He's already homered here in spring training. Matt Carpenter leads it off when we come back. There's a look at the Cardinals' leadoff hitter this season, undoubtedly, and that will be Matt Carpenter, followed by Dexter Fowler and Paul Goldschmidt. Then Ozuna designated hitter, Robinson, Munoz, Rosarena, Pena, and Sosa.
Well, this could be what we might expect on opening day. First 4 guys. And Ozuna, of course, has been slowed a little bit defensively, but started throwing yesterday a little bit harder and a little bit longer, and the reports were good. So you hope he'll be ready. He says he'll be ready, but perhaps these first 4 will be the first 4 on opening day.
Speaking of opening day, this will be the opening day starter for the Miami Marlins, Jose Urena. This guy can be really good. Finished with a flourish last September. Urena named as Miami's opening day starter, which he did last year against Colorado. He'll be the first Marlins pitcher to start consecutive opening days since Josh Johnson. There's a name from the past for Miami. Donnie Baseball there. Don Mattingly, the manager of the Marlins.
Tough year last year, 63 wins, but Don Mattingly is a really good teacher, and he's been very patient with what the Marlins are trying to do. And, you know, could be trying again, Dan. They lost Real Muto, as well as obviously the celebrated outfielders that have all gone different places from a couple of years ago. So he's got a task ahead of him to keep this thing going in a good direction until some of their young players are ready.
They have not extended him, by the way. He is dealing with the final year of his contract and has not been extended. The 2-2 pitch swung on and missed, and a strikeout of Carpenter. You may remember last year, as Dexter Fowler, the switch hitter, will dig in. It was in the middle of August. Urena was pitching against the Braves, and Ronald Acuna Jr. was hit on the elbow. First pitch of the game, and the bench is cleared. And Acuna had hit a home run in his previous 5 games, and then Urena received a 6-game suspension. And it was the fastest pitch thrown by Urena in 2018 up to that point. And after that, after the suspension, he was very good. Fowler rips it into right field for his first base hit of spring training.
Well, I think Dexter needed that. Of course, he's a veteran guy, and you know he's going to deal with things, even a slow start to spring training, but you know, he knows this is a big year for him to kind of reestablish himself as a top-tier player. And you know, you get that first hit, and oftentimes many roll after that.
There's Paul Goldschmidt. Nice round of applause for him. Batting 167 here in the first week and change of spring training. Numbers a season ago with 33 home runs as he batted .290 after a very, and I mean very, slow start to his 2018 campaign. Pulls it foul and right into the dugout of the Miami Marlins.
Watch out. Well, you mentioned his slow start. We know the slow start of Dexter Fowler and Matt Carpenter, and again, that's 1, 2, 3 for the Cardinals. All 3 of them were hitting about 170, 160 a month and a half into the season.
Nothing into the count on Paul Goldschmidt, one of the biggest acquisitions in all of baseball this past offseason. Hits it off the end of the bat, and that is going to drop into shallow right center. And Fowler could read that easily and heads over to third. So a base hit on an 0-2 pitch, and runners at the corners for St. Louis. The Marlins defense with Dean in left, Brenson, Speedster in center, O'Brien is in right, Anderson, Riddle, Diaz, and Prado along the infield, and Brian Holiday is behind the plate. It is one of the most commonly asked questions, the arm of Marcell Ozuna, for folks back in St. Louis, and maybe you can get more into that, which you addressed earlier, just how it's progressing here for Marcell Ozuna. And it's not about hitting, it's about throwing.
His swing has been fine.
Yeah.
And he seems to have power. Of course, he did last spring training hitting as well, and the arm just never came around. But after his procedure, I mean, he's really kind of taken it slow in spring training, and I think the Cardinals are okay with that. But the point is, he's going to have to start throwing at some point, and that point may be mid-March. And he says he's going to be ready. He said yesterday, I just need a couple of weeks of throwing full bore, and I'll be ready to play left field.
Missed down and in. John Mozeliak was with us last weekend, and he's pretty blunt about it. He said, you know what? You look at the calendar, and the season is almost here.
Yeah.
So mid-March, as you talked about, would be the time that they want to see him start to throw. As Ozuna hits it off his foot.
Here's the realistic concern, though, Dan. If you've got 2 weeks, and if there are any setbacks in any of that 2-week throwing program, then maybe he's not ready. Here's the foul ball off the front foot. Ouch.
We talked so much about the free agency of Goldschmidt, but Ozuna, free agent as well. Is Chris Conroy, the trainer of the Cardinals, out to check on Marcell Ozuna.
Did you ever, in your long and illustrious career, Dan?
Oh, so illustrious.
I know all of your at-bats, counting fantasy camp. Have you ever fouled the ball off your foot? Yeah, I know.
Of course I did.
Base hit off of Randy Flores. I know. Did you ever?
Oh no, I caught Randy Flores. I had a game winner.
Oh, that's right.
But
okay,
but that's besides the point.
Want to get the story right.
Yes.
You ever foul the ball off your foot?
Yeah, and it lasts forever. Lasts all season.
I never did. I never.
Well, that's why you were a pitcher.
Well, but even high school, I don't think my bat speed was good enough to actually get the head out quick enough to actually have that happen.
And that's
but
why,
I know it's painful. I know guys that deal with it. It's, it'll be sore for a couple of days for sure.
And that's why if you're a pitcher, or in this case, today's starter, Urania, the next pitch, you go right where he went. Uncomfortable down and in.
Yeah, no mercy.
No. Here's a 1-2. Chop left side. It is a fair ball. Run will score. Ozuna running gingerly down that first base line, and the run scores to make it 1-0 Cardinals here in the bottom of the first.
Oh, good fundamental baseball here this inning. The Cardinals go first to third on a base hit. That's number one. And then secondarily, Ozuna makes contact just to get that run in. You can't strike out there. You got to put it in play.
Makes me think of Todd Hollinsworth. All the foul tips off the shin and broken bones that he had. Here's Drew Robinson, traded for Patrick Wisdom. Robinson at shortstop today, and I think that is so important because the Cardinals right now, Edmundo Sosa would be one that I think would handle it defensively without a problem at the major league level. Can Drew Robinson play shortstop without a problem at the major league level?
It's a good question. We've seen him at second base. We've seen him a little bit in the outfield. We've seen him at third, but watching him play, I'll be very interested in watching him play shortstop today. Munoz could have played shortstop today, but they have him in center just to give Robinson this chance.
It's a ball and a strike with a runner at second base. And a swing and a miss as that ball tailed away. 1-2 the count.
Urania, Dan, has some deception in his delivery. He's got the live arm, mid-90s to upper 90s fastball, but he turns right before delivering and hides the ball really well. And then it just explodes from about 3/4, and especially against right-handers, I would think he'd be a tough customer.
Goldschmidt, your runner at second base, and a 2-2. And he struck him out. Couldn't pull the trigger. A couple of strikeouts. Carpenter, Robinson. But the Cardinals strike first. 1-0 after one. New for 2019, Busch Stadium Premium Party Suites. Great way to enjoy a Cardinals game. Party Suites feature a full-service bar in each suite. Newly enhanced menu and a renovated design, perfect for entertaining clients or friends. Learn more at cardinals.com/premium suites. We have a big Cardinal fan celebrating a third birthday. Addie Eberhardt Addie Eberhardt is 3. She is our biggest fan.
And she has absolutely every reason in the world to be a Cardinal fan, doesn't she?
She does.
And she has no choice in the matter.
That's correct, too. Mom and Dad are employees of the Cardinals. Megan runs our promotions department and many other things. And Ryan also working for the St. Louis Cardinals. And Addie, happy birthday. I know you're watching, so stay warm. Just be with Mom and Dad watching a little baseball. And happy birthday to, she's such a cutie, Addie Eberhardt. There's Peter O'Brien. And another shift on a right-handed batter here. O'Brien looking for his first hit of the spring, and the Marlins waiting for him to make the team. I mean, they're giving him every opportunity to make the team. They want to see him make it. He's a former Yankee, and they believe he's a guy that can help them in 2019. Ricky, we told his story last weekend of his mother defecting from Cuba, and part of their remarkable ballet. And she was part of that. She was a soloist and defected from Cuba. And she then met her husband here in the United States. But her story is just an incredible one of leaving Cuba to get to the United States, meeting her husband, daring, remarkable escape, and then settling in South Florida and having her son, Peter O'Brien, who now is South Florida through and through. Grew up in this area, grew up cheering for the Marlins, and now having a chance to wear their uniform.
Well, certainly for the organization, the perfect guy to really represent them and to be part of their future.
Strikeout from Michael Wacha, and that's number 2 today.
Ball's jumping out of his hand, isn't it?
He's been throwing that pitch at 95. The gun here at Roger Dean.
This is a 4-seamer up in the zone. Wacha can go down in the zone too, but if you have that little extra hop above the belt, very difficult to catch up to it. Wacha, of course, can throw both. He can throw a sinking fastball as well as a changeup. And as we always say about Michael Wacha, that curveball is an important pitch for him as well.
Here's JT Riddle. Probably be the everyday shortstop for the Marlins. There's that curveball and a beauty in there from Michael Wacha.
I mentioned a number of times the Cardinals will see the Marlins as we look at that curveball we talked about, 12-6 variety. 23 out of the 31 games here in spring training are against National League East teams.
A strikeout for Michael, and that's 3 in a row and 3 in the game. About the National League East, do you think they've loaded up with some pretty good talent?
I think the Phillies just got better.
Oh boy.
The Mets have gotten better with Cano and others. The Braves have gotten better. They got Josh Donaldson, and they were already pretty good with good young talent, especially in their infield.
Lewis Brinson came over in the Christian Yelich deal. Unfortunately for Brinson, it was a tough season a year ago. Only played in 109 games. He struck out nearly 30% of the time, only drew 17 walks. And that's got to be a tough pill to swallow for fans of the Marlins, because you get a guy like Brinson and you see a talented kid, but he struggles, and then Yelich goes away and he wins the MVP. Elevating mid-90s fastball again.
And you know, it isn't just the miles per hour, it's the hop to it. You know, players talk about the spin rate on a ball, and that tends to just create a little extra movement and pop. Wacha's got it today.
Hit out of play.
But what Brinson does for you, Dan, and anybody that's seen him play, he's clearly extremely athletic, runs well, can hit the ball a mile. I mean a mile.
He's got 3 home runs this spring.
All solo shots and all big flies. I mean big flies. But will he be able to do enough on a consistent basis to play every day? That's a question mark.
Just missed, and it's 2-2. Big fly. You like to say that when you're doing your radio play-by-play.
Big fly, yeah. That's what we called him back in the day. You had a home run, it was a big fly. Or for friends from Spanish-speaking countries. Para calle.
Held on to, you bet. He strikes out the side. 4 in a row in terms of strikeouts for Michael Wacha. Munoz, Rosarena, Pena coming up. Michael Wacha settling in. 1-0 Redbirds. And there's a look at Mike Schilt. We were just talking about Christian Yelich and the Brewers. And Ricky, you know what's interesting is, Munoz hits it down the left field line a ton, and it is foul. And I mean just foul. It was home run distance, but foul. Now, let's go back to what I was talking about. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So, for Mike Schilt, we always talk about the importance for any team getting off to a good start, but think about getting off to a good start against Milwaukee. I mean, the Cardinals will face them a bunch early on and do it at Miller Park.
10 games in March and April combined against a team that's going to be very important for you to beat. So there's no time to kind of ease into the season. You better be good right out of the gate. And of course, getting off to a good start's important for any team. But when you're playing one of those teams that you're going to battle, you know, the wins and losses in March and April count the same way as they do in September.
I mean, we say it, it's cliche, but man, is it true. It adds up. That's fouled back, 0-2.
You know who likes to talk about that particular comment, and he
outside
says
of me?
It well, outside of you is Chris Carpenter. Maybe maybe he got it from you. But
here we go.
But what I would remember Carp talking about a lot, and we had several conversations about this, about a late inning loss, let's say in April 11th, and he'd say, I'm worried about that game hurting us in September when we need that. I mean, we need that win now. And you just don't think about it at the time, but players know that, you know, the more you can press good finishes, come from behind victories yourself, not have any leaky bullpen issues in April and May, the better off you are in your chances of playing in October.
I'm curious with Mike Schilt, though, how you manage in April and May, in particular with your bullpen.
We don't know yet, do we?
We're going to find out.
Yes, we are.
You know, Tony La Russa talked about it a lot. How you do, I mean, you manage every night to win, clearly, but you're managing also to kind of save bullets with your bullpen and make sure they're fresh at the end of the year.
Remember the year that the Cardinals got off to such a great start, and in there every night in the ninth inning was Trevor Rosenthal, because it was a save situation. It's like, well, you know, you're going to win every day. You can't use your closer every day. Otherwise, they kind of, as you mentioned, run out of bullets. And so you have to, you know, managing a bullpen is open to a lot of opinions and a lot of conjecture, but the reality is you have to get them all working together, and that's not only Mike Schilt's job, it's also Mike Maddox's job.
We spoke to Mike Schilt today in his office, and I know a lot of fans are curious about what you do with, let's say, Alex Reyes. And Alex Reyes will pitch finally in a live game, and he has pitched in situation in which it's been, let's say, live BP, but there have been fans there. There's been a hitter, and at one point the hitters were just supposed to stand there, and then it was at one point, okay, swing away, and Mike Maddox watched it, and Mike Schilt was actually in center field, and he cackled when he saw a couple of the curveballs and started laughing. And Munoz battles but strikes out as he saw that Alex Reyes, Rick, was just dominating these hitters, and he said it wasn't meant to be disrespectful to the hitters. He said Alex Reyes was just that good. And now this week, early in the week, we're going to see Alex Reyes pitch finally against some major league hitters, and it's going to be exciting for him and certainly for the club.
Well, it certainly is for him. He just can't wait to get off of that little list called the prospect list. He wants to be a player, a contributor.
Up the third base line, a beauty, and it rolls fair, 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 and it is foul.
Urania makes the right choice, and here it is, just going into foul territory. No chance to throw him out. Get out of the way.
That was the only play that they had. No way to get Randy Arozarena with his good speed. Cardinals signed Arozarena back in 2016. He was a part of Cuba's national team. Reached AA in his first year in the United States. Also made the Futures game. Reached AAA in 2018. As you saw, very good speed, a plus runner. Can play all three outfield spots. And he'll be now 24 years of age on opening day. Played in 89 games at AAA Memphis last year. These are big springs for Arozarena and
Garcia.
Adolis Garcia, as the Cardinals did invest in these Cuban players. And it's tap foul. And for both of them, a lot of it, the talk has been about pitch recognition as they've advanced through the minor leagues. Now, last year, Arozarena at Memphis, 59 strikeouts in 89 games. At an on-base percentage of .328. That pitch in the dirt evens it up at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Every big league hitter, every big league hitting coach stresses pitch recognition, but it is something that Jeff Albert, the new Cardinal hitting coach, really majors in, trying to figure out how he can help guys see what's coming, expect what's coming.
High fly ball into deep right center. O'Brien back, can't handle it. Arozarena can fly all the way to third, and he'll be held up and winds up at third base with 1 down for St. Louis here in the bottom of the 2nd inning.
It looked like O'Brien started drifting on this ball a little bit, but there's the power of Arozarena the other way. Didn't quite have the right route to get that ball. It ends up on the warning track. Should have been caught. It was up in the air long enough to be caught, but still a really good at bat for Arozarena.
Infield brought in now for Miami, and the batter will be Francisco Pena. So we both spoke to the general manager Michael Gersh. Matt Wieters brought in this week. Battles now with Francisco Pena. Backup spot. Pena left side, base hit, and it's now a 2-0 St. Louis lead. Infield in. Pena the hit to left, and it brings in Randy Arozarena to make it 2-0 Cardinals.
Well, Pena's having a good spring with the bat, and he did exactly what we talked about in the first inning. Put the ball in play with a runner at third base. Good things happen. Infield in. Finds a hole.
And so the point of that conversation with Michael Gersh is that both guys on minor league deals. So by the end of spring, if another team comes calling and they have a chance at a major league deal, you know, they could advance and go to that team. It's a situation in which the Cardinals would not stop them unless the Cardinals said, well, you're going to make our club. So
right.
they just don't know at this time, and it's competition, and we'll see how it plays out.
It's the fair way to treat a veteran player. I mean, you're not going to necessarily give that kind of leeway to a younger player that's not as established. But Wieters, of course, a 4-time All-Star. If somebody else comes in and Pena beats him out, let's say, for the sake of argument, and somebody else says, well, we want him as our catcher here in Cleveland or in Oakland, then, and Oakland was one of the teams that was interested in Wieters but never made an offer to him like the Cardinals did. But they watch him play this spring. They both play well. I learned that in the minor leagues from a left-handed pitcher, Dave Von Olen. He said, I am not your competition. I'm going to make you better. You make me better. He was a veteran. And he said, if we both pitch well, we'll both go to the big leagues. If we're both terrible, they'll find somebody else.
Sure.
And
that's how
exactly,
it works.
That's exactly right.
Sosa on the ground to short. Taken there by Riddle. Diaz the turn, and it's a double play off the bat of Edmundo Sosa. The base hit by Pena to bring in Randy Arozarena. 2-0 Redbirds. Okay, there are the pitch clock rules, so go for it. Yeah, there they are.
Well,
Ricky, explain it.
Well, the pitch clock rule is by the time the pitcher has touched the baseball after a pitch on the dirt, he's got 20 seconds to throw it. Umpires are going to have some instruction to players. They'll encourage them to get in the box. They'll encourage pitchers to throw, and it'll be later in spring training, depending on status of the negotiations with Major League Baseball, just what kind of penalties there will be if everybody agrees to it. And the idea is to have balls and strikes be called if people aren't ready. And Dan, as you know, and we talked about a week or so ago, there's the pitch count started at 20. I have a bit of a bone to pick with this potential rule and the implementation of it. Of course, I call it the hitter get in the box rule.
And I'm with you too on that.
The hitter doesn't have to be ready until there's 5 seconds left on the clock. 5 seconds left on the clock, which means the pitcher has to get a sign, agree with the catcher, and throw a pitch in 5 seconds. I don't know why the hitter shouldn't be carrying an equal burden of that 20 seconds, because I think more problems start with hitters than they do with pitchers.
And by the time he starts his windup, then they turn it off, and I don't think we've ever had an issue with Michael Wacha and pace of his turn through the rotation. And once he gets the ball back, he's always been a quick worker. This is Isan Diaz, but it has been the hitters.
So the logistics of this, Dan, is when the hitter gets in the box, that may determine what sign the catcher gives the pitcher. Is he going to get up on the plate? Is he going to open up a little more? All that will determine what pitch call the catcher puts down, what sign. And so pitcher really can't do anything until the hitter's ready, which is basically with 5 seconds. It's not 20, it's 5.
Austin Dean was talking to some veterans this week in camp, and I found this interesting. As you see the lead by Diaz and now Dean at the plate, to lessen the, let's say, implementation by, just saying, hey, here it is from the commissioner. Would you not maybe make veterans have to deal with this, but the young players? So, if you've got, I don't know, 7-year veteran, 8-year player, and force him to do this. So maybe there are some slow workers or quick worker, whatever the case may be. And they say, you know what, I've been doing this in my career and I don't want to do this. Well, I don't like it. And you know what? I don't think I should be forced to do this. This is how I've made my living. And the commissioner wants to shove this down the Players Association. I don't agree with it. And maybe the best way for the commissioner to go about it is to say, all right, veterans of this much service time, you don't have to deal with it. But the way to ease it in the game, young players, you have to do it. What do you think?
Well, I think young players, just handling that part first, they don't even notice it. It's not even a thing because they're used to doing it in the minor leagues. It's not that big a deal.
Pitch clock has been in the minor leagues.
And frankly, it's not really that intrusive anyway. 20 seconds. It should not upset the way a pitcher especially wants to go about his business.
Runner goes, throw by Pena. He's gone. Goodbye. Pena, good start to this game on a Saturday afternoon here at Roger Dean.
Base hit, RBI, and a caught stealing. And we've only been through a couple of innings. There's a jump of their star of the future and the tag. Way to go. I hear what you're saying about the veteran players. I do believe this. I do believe if the umpires are more concerned about getting the hitters in the box, I don't think it's going to affect any pitchers, period. 20 seconds is way long enough for you to be able to get rid of a pitch.
There's a ground ball on a short hop. Nice play by Carpenter. There's 2 away. It is a 4-man umpiring crew today. Many times we see 3, but today it's 4.
I'm waiting for one of those situations where an umpire has to determine whose fault is it that the pitch wasn't thrown in 20 seconds. Was the hitter in there late or the pitcher? That makes me think of one of our favorite videos of Al Raboski and
going wild.
Bill Madlock.
Right.
Because Al's waiting for Madlock. Madlock's waiting for Al. So who is at fault in that? If you want to watch a funny video on YouTube, I watch it every once in a while just for a laugh. I mean, it is comical. Al ends up throwing a pitch with an umpire telling him to throw with nobody in the box. Then he throws another pitch, almost hits the manager who's arguing with the umpire, and there are two players in the box with a bat in their hand at the same time.
It's awesome.
It's crazy. But it's over this issue, really, is who's supposed to be ready first. And that'll be a burden on the umpires to get that right.
Al will be part of our pre and post game shows this year. Also doing a lot of community work with the Cardinals. Diving stop, Carpenter. Throw to first and got him. Nice play, Matt Carpenter. Little high five from Michael Wacha. And Carpenter leads it off, but we come back. One of the bright spots in this camp has been the throwing from third base. I know there's been talk of that with Matt Carpenter. How would he look at third? Well, the throwing has been pretty good.
It has certainly been better than a year ago, and he got tested last inning with a play coming in to his left. He had to really get rid of that one to make sure he got his man. And Carpenter, of course, has been swinging the bat very well. I would have to think, Dan, he is more comfortable realizing he's only got to bring one glove to the ballpark on a given day, and he doesn't have to worry about playing first base with Goldschmidt. Certainly a staple there. I would think that just simplifies things for Matt.
Mentioned that the other day with John Mozeliak. He's been second base, first base, third, and I think we forget back all the way in 2011 there were times that even in spring training we saw him in the outfield.
And let add one other complication. Matt Carpenter has been stuck between leadoff guy, on base guy, and middle of the lineup producer guy, home run power guy, and there was some questions about where he fit even in the lineup. So you got the offensive side, you've got the defensive question mark. I just again think things are much simpler for him.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. Take it high. Carpenter struck out first time. Cardinals have a lead of 2-0 here in the home half of the third.
Strong Michael Wacha performance. Very impressed by him.
He had 42 pitches, 25 of which were strikes.
I would say
the Cardinals have a lefty getting loose now.
Best start we've seen.
Pretty good.
That's Chasen Shreve, one of the several left-handers that Mike Schilt will be choosing from.
Little jam shot, hit left side. Carpenter hustling down the line for the first out. A couple of years ago, that would have been a very hot topic in baseball. Out or safe when you take it out of the glove. Remember, you had to reach in, take it out, but now
I'm glad we're past that.
Common sense prevails.
Yes. And here's what you're talking about. Whoops.
Thank you very much. He's out.
He caught it. He's out.
Dexter Fowler with a base hit, first time up. In right field today. Talking with Mike Schilt before the game, he said Dexter Fowler said, Dan, we are doing tests on all our players physically of where they're at. And he said Dexter right now is in a great spot physically, you know, way better than he was last year. He said he's very, very strong. He said mentally we love where he's at, you know, and he said what I'd love to see today. And I said, how about a couple of knocks? And he said, bingo, let's get him going. You mentioned it, first time up. Just get him a couple of hits and settle in. Well, he's got one today.
He had really good numbers his first year as a Cardinal. Really a career year for him.
Hit in the air to shallow left. Austin Dean is there, and he dropped it, and Fowler is at second base. It's a couple of balls in the outfield that have been hit by the Cardinals at That one should have been caught for sure, and the one in right probably should have been caught too.
I'm not sure if sun was a factor, but wind certainly wasn't. A lot of times here in spring training, you've got windy situations, and I don't think sun is an issue there either. I think that's just flat out dropping one.
We'll have a pitching change now. Urania, his day is through after the drop in left. So Dexter Fowler at second base with one down for the Cardinals in the home half of the third. You're watching Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports. Will face Austin Bryce. A reminder, the Cardinals Hall of Fame voting right now is live for you, and it'll close on April 12th. And these are the fan votes. Cardinals.com/HOF. Austin Bryce, the former Cincinnati Red, will find a spot more than likely out of their bullpen. A right-hander. We saw him a bunch with the Reds.
Nine home runs.
Pitch is a ball.
9 home runs that he allowed. That's a pretty high number, but you think about being happy to be out of Cincinnati in a way. Cincinnati, a place where we may see a lot of home runs this year by the home team.
I was talking to our buddy Chris Welsh the other day, the longtime television analyst of the Reds. Here's a 1-0 pitch to Paul Goldschmidt. He said, Dan, you wouldn't believe it out here in Arizona. You know, we've had these down years, and we had the years with Griffey, and there was excitement, and then with Dusty Baker, and we saw them in 10. I guess it was 8 and 08, 9 and 10, 11. There was good teams, productive teams, postseason teams. He said, but the excitement right now, our fan base and out here with this team, he said, is really, and it genuinely, there's excitement around this team.
You could think of 5 guys on that team, maybe 6 guys that could hit 30 home runs. I'm not saying they all will, but they have the potential to, and that generates excitement, especially in a ballpark that clearly a hitter's ballpark.
And a walk to Goldschmidt. Runners at first and second, and now Marcell Ozuna picked up a run batted in back in the first on a ground out.
Ozuna just looks like a guy that loves to hit, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he walks to the box. He's like so excited every time. He's got a lot of gyrations and movements.
Okay.
And then he just lets it go.
So the guy that cuts my hair down here, now this is doing some research. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Wait a minute. I'm not sure if I'm ready for it, but go ahead.
Well, you got to have a guy down here that cuts your hair. I mean,
yeah.
You know, we're down here a long time. He's a former Marlins minor league pitcher. And he said, I was in camp at rookie ball with Marcell Ozuna. And I said, what was it like being around Marcell as a rookie? And he said he walked off the bus ready to hit.
Right.
That's what he said. We all knew.
Yeah.
He said Marcell could hit. He said he could hit as a young Marlin. That's into center field, and here comes Fowler to third, Goldschmidt to second base. So that furthers the point you made. He said, we all knew. He said, we're all young, we're all nervous, we're all bright-eyed, and he said, here's this guy just bopping around and grabbing a bat, and then we saw him, and we said, man, this dude can hit, and he can hit.
Fowler might have been out with a good throw. Actually was a good throw. It was just dropped. That probably would be a pitcher's error and probably shouldn't be. Again, my pitchers union comment. That play probably should have been handled by Diaz, the second baseman.
So now runners at second and third for Marcell Ozuna. Slider misses low and away.
I do not recall ever seeing a Marcell Ozuna at bat that did not have flair and energy to it. He doesn't give them away.
Chance to add to the Cardinal lead here. 2 balls and 1 strike. Ooh, 2-2.
One of the things we talked about Todd Hollingsworth earlier, but one of the things I heard from him when we first had Ozuna in a Cardinal uniform, he said, you're going to love him. And the reason he became a 300 hitter is because he hits the ball the other way very well. I wonder if the shoulder was a reason he didn't do it as much last year as he did it the year he hit over 300 with the Marlins.
I would think so, for
because you've
sure.
got to drive the ball. It's just a different stance. Those last 3 pitches he's pulled off instead of taking the ball the other way.
So Ozuna strikes out. Cardinals need a 2-out base hit from Drew Robinson, who struck out his first time.
This is a pitch you got to recognize, hit the other way. You can't pull off of it at all. He opens up a little bit too soon. Those pitchers are tricky, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, too, that the changeup that we've seen against Ozuna, he's been better against that pitch, which was a problem at times a year ago, and you can understand because he'd be out front off balance and with a sore shoulder that could affect that.
Well, and I think that's really what it was. It wasn't even so much the mechanics of hitting the ball the other way, but you're trying to compensate for being afraid you're not going to be able to hit that fastball in, so you start going earlier, and if you start going earlier, that makes you more susceptible to things moving away from you or off speed. I think that's exactly right.
Jason Shreve continues to throw in the Cardinal pen, and the 1-0. Outside corner. Robinson didn't like it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Drew was on the caravan with me this year. First major league hit, home run. Yankee Stadium.
Wow.
Not a bad place to do it, to get your first hit.
I think that's one of the things the Cardinals are hoping from him, is not just his versatility, but that he has some pop from the left side. Not really a big guy, but he does have home run potential.
And the 2-1 pitch to Drew Robinson. Outside. Traded for Patrick Wisdom. There was some talk that Patrick Wisdom would wind up playing potentially in Japan. There was the talk of Jose Martinez maybe winding up in Japan as well. Cardinals extending Martinez a couple of years. Robinson, right side. It is a play at first base and out as they take the hit away. That's Isan Diaz, and what a play that saves at least 1 run, maybe 2. It takes a hit away from Drew Robinson. We enter the 4th, and it's 2-0 St. Louis. Looking on after a very good outing by Michael Wacha here today.
Had to be very pleased with what he saw from his starter. 3 solid innings of work, 42 pitches, pitch count low, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. Many of the fastballs had some hop to it, and he also showed his changeup and curveball. So really good, solid outing all the way around for Michael Wacha.
Jason Shreve, lefty, picked up in the Luke Voit deal from the Yankees. Talking with Chasen the other day about that, I said, boy, you've pitched for 2 of the most historic franchises in all of baseball. And he said, you don't have to tell me, I know it. I said, man, the Yankees and now the Cardinals, about as good as it gets. And he gets Curtis Granderson, the top of the lineup.
And this is what the Cardinals got Chasen Shreve for, is facing left-handed batters. One of the interesting things about Shreve, and I believe that was a slider, he's more thought of as a guy that throws a splitter than a slider, which is unusual for a left-handed pitcher. And so one of the things I think he's trying to reintroduce is that sweeping slider to left-handed batters.
Granderson with a fly ball lifted to center. That's what he was saying the other day. He said, you know, you think about a lefty in the big leagues reliever. You know this better than anybody. I mean, you got to have that breaking ball. And here I am with a, you know, split finger and a fastball. And he said, spring training for me will be obviously to make the club. But when you are a 2-pitch pitcher from the left side without a slider, at times you become predictable. And I really want to work on the breaking ball. And he said, I've tried all different grips and different types of ways to do it, but worked on it on the off season, and you'll see more of it here in spring.
And here's the why of it. When you throw a splitter, it's more like a changeup reaction to a hitter. The ball will go straight down. So that's good against right-handed batters. That's fine. The fastball, splitter, those two complement each other. But for a left-handed batter, you don't want something just going down. Low ball hitter, left-handers, several are. You want something going away from them, something that will make them more vulnerable to coming back with fastball in, and it widens the plate. Fastball in, slider away. That's the typical way to attack a left-handed batter.
Into left center, and there is Jairo Munoz, who's the center fielder today, battling the sun. You can see that. Must be the case in that drop in left.
Right, exactly.
Outfielders will tell you at this ballpark, left field is very, very tough. It's a tough sun field with these local time 1 o'clock starts. And we're about 5-6 miles away from the ocean. And as Ricky said earlier, it gets really breezy here. So you always, every inning, got to look at the flags and see how it's blowing in, out, right, left. It's a tough outfield at this ballpark.
Well, we've had some moments here in the past. I go back a dozen years or so just thinking about balls that would start out. You'd think, oh, that's a home run. And the right fielder would go back and it would end up near second base. I mean, almost like Candlestick Park moments.
That's right.
The old San Francisco ballpark.
Shreve off the mound, steps, throws for the out. Easy. 1, 2, 3 innings, 7 pitches for Shreve. Cardinals have a lead of 2-0. Home half of the fourth. Jairo Munoz will lead it off.
Well, it's been an adventure defensively for the Marlins. That ball probably should have been caught in right. This one definitely should have been caught in left. And here's an errant play at second base with Dexter Fowler threatening to steal. He gets to go there anyway. So 3 misplays for the Marlins. 2 of them errors, 1 of them a triple by Rosarina. And it's part of the reason the Cardinals have a 2-0 lead.
Munoz lines it softly to second. Isan Diaz really made a nice play to end last inning, taking a hit away from Robinson. Makes that play, and Bryce still in the ballgame.
That was a big-time play by Diaz. He's one of their top prospects, Dan. As we've talked about, some of the players in the past. We talked about the ones they got for Yelich and the ones they got for Stant. I mean, they're going to have to produce. They're going to have to be their stars of the future. And Diaz came over from Milwaukee. He was a MVP at the rookie league level in 2015. So he was kind of a can't-miss guy, and that was a terrific play he made last inning.
Randy Rosarena. Cardinals with a right-hander throwing in their bullpen. One ball and 1 strike. Austin Bryce to Randy Rosarena. A slider misses. Did not go. Dominic Leone getting loose in the pen, and this is, and there's no other way to cut it, Ricky, unfortunately, for players from their perspective, it's a business. And Dominic Leone, and sometimes it's a good thing, it's a business too. And here we go. Wind playing tricks on this, and the sun, and the catch is made. But Dominic Leone is, and this was part of the reason he was acquired a year ago. And this time last year, we're talking about the potential of closing, but he has options. And there's a lot of guys vying for a spot in the rotation. And if they don't get in the rotation, may wind up in the bullpen, or maybe, there's guys out of options like a Mike Myers or a John Gant. I mean, it's the business side of the game. There's only 25 spots, so a lot of competition, meaning spots like this coming up for Dominic Leone are important.
And a year ago, we were talking about Dominic Leone coming out of spring training, so a little more than a year ago, as being a guy that would probably be potentially one of the Cardinal closers, if not the closer coming out of spring training. So that's what an injury can do for you. And I talked about Michael Wacha being forgotten sometimes as a member of the Cardinal rotation. Leon's kind of the same way in the bullpen because he missed so much time due to injury. But I know he's ready to prove that he belongs and he can get some big outs late in games. I enjoy being around him. I think he's
Dominic.
Oh,
he's great. I think he's got a chance to be a future broadcaster.
But he doesn't want that future to be now.
No. A few more paychecks in his future with their uniform on.
Funny, you have to be very careful when you go to a player and say, you know what, I think you'd be a great coach. They might say, what are you trying to tell me?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just saying. They don't want to hear that. I mean, they just don't. They know plan B's coming. They're just not ready for it.
Pena, base hit into left, and he's 2 for 2.
I think Francisco Pena's saying, don't forget about me.
Pressure sometimes isn't a bad thing, huh? Competition.
Words spoken several times by Tony La Russa. Love to talk about pressure, but the spring of Pena, 5 for 10, 3 RBIs. And between he and Wieters, again, they both play well. They'll both have jobs somewhere.
There's Edmundo Sosa. And Sosa hits a fly ball out to deep left field. And that ball, one hops over the wall. And the Marlins will catch a break here because Pena will stop at third base. If not, it's a 3-0 St. Louis lead.
That's one of the realities of the game of baseball, Dan. Just little things make a difference. This ball crushed by Sosa, and almost too much, because not only does it get in the gap, but it bounces over the wall. That saves the Marlins a run. They saved 2 runs last inning because of the play that Diaz made. This could be a 5-0 game very, very easily.
Might be 5-0 with a swing of the bat right here with the guy at the plate.
Could be.
Here's Carpenter, who does have a home run this spring. That was a leadoff home run. Runners at second and third. By the way, my understanding is Lou and Jackie Brock are in Jupiter. Speaking of leadoff home runs.
When you said leadoff home run, that's exactly who came to my mind.
Great Lou Brock. Shift on for Carpenter. By the way, I have a speaker series coming up with both Lou Brock and Keith Hernandez together coming up at the ballpark, and you can find more at Cardinals.com. That'll be a fun night with Keith Hernandez and Lou Brock.
Keith on the ballot for the Cardinal Hall of Fame.
Yep.
Certainly a worthy choice. They all are.
Little check swing. This will be a tough play. Barehanded and out. Oh, what a play. Down at third, Brian Anderson. What a play. Anderson will be in his second full season in the big leagues. Coming up in nights are back again this season, and they're on sale now, including some of the favorites: Star Wars night, Margaritaville night, Grateful Dead night, and many more. See that full list at Cardinals.com/theme. Dominic Leone, here we go. Healthy and ready to go for this season. 29 appearances a season ago.
Nerve problem for him, and the frustration about nerve issues is it takes a long time for them to kind of regenerate and get better, and all you can do is wait. And that's what he did a lot of last year, and he was very patient with it, at least externally he was. But his best pitch, we noted last spring, and of course you can't hide anything. Everybody has information about everybody, but it's a cutter. He throws a good cutter that breaks at the last minute, and that's how he got his outs when he was with Toronto.
I think he's got great stuff.
Yeah.
When he's right, healthy, could be a weapon. Peter O'Brien struck out first time, and the pitch by Leone is ball 1. Cardinals will open up on the road regular season against the Milwaukee Brewers. The home opener will be a Thursday. Manny Machado in the National League with the San Diego Padres. That's hit out to left field for a base hit. Over to cut it off, Arozarena. And he will hold O'Brien to a single.
Love it when an outfielder does things right. Rosarina got to that ball quickly. Was not going to let it be a double. This ball smoked down the left field line, and Rosarina takes a perfect route to it, gets behind it, comes up throwing, throws a BB. I love it.
That's a lot of Willie McGee and Jim Edmonds, who's also down here in camp working with the outfielders. JT Riddle at the plate. Number 51, Willie McGee, and the Cardinals Hall of Famer.
I'm not sure that major league coaches actually have written job descriptions, but if I was going to write one for Willie McGee, I would put on the top Willie McGee, Cardinal Hall of Famer. Job description, just be Willie.
Everybody be just fine with that.
Just be Willie. Just be you. That's it. Whatever that means, just be you.
Every time he's around me, he starts to laugh. He said, Dan.
Well, I kind of do that too.
Well, what do you got for me? I always give him a little trouble. Talking with Willie today. And I was doing some work for the Cardinals down here a few weeks ago. And I had him voice some commercial stuff that we're doing. And I was giving him trouble about it. And it was the one time, Ricky, I was being serious, in which I did forget to hit the record button.
Oops.
And I said, Willie, you're not going to believe this. I forgot to hit record. And he said, why are you always playing tricks on me? I said,
no,
Willie,
really.
I really did. I really didn't hit record.
And for anybody that you would do that to, you did that to Willie.
And I was embarrassed. And he said, oh, Dan. Put his arm around me. He said, Dan, anything for you. He is the nicest. Whatever you fans think about Willie McGee, and you think he's, and I know you never hear a bad thing about him, you all think he's the nicest guy. Take that times a million, and that's truly who Willie McGee is. He is the best.
But don't confuse niceness without being competitive. I mean, I think,
right.
And again, I think sometimes you assume that's one or the other, but that's not true.
But Ricky, the one time I did forget to hit record, I said, Willie, I feel terrible. He said, you're playing a trick on me. No, I'm not. I'm sorry, Willie.
Well, Willie knows enough to be careful around baseball people. There's the quick feed of Dominic Leone. I just had a memory pop in my head of a spring training, and I lockered next to Willie several years ago, where Willie was talking about, and there was a whole lot about several different devices he was using in the off season to become a better hitter. He bought these new machines. He bought just all kinds of things, and that was kind of the conversation. So I believe one of the teammates, and I think it was Ken Daly, sounds like something he would do, presented him with a new machine because of all this talk about Willie, and it's like, here, we're going to make you better. And it was that that old toy that kids have where you step on the pedal and the ball pops up.
I had one of them.
I did too, and they presented one to Willie. Here, Willie, work on this.
Fly ball deep right, and catch made. Nice play. Dexter Fowler in right field. That's a nice play. You can see him right now. He's saying that ball is circling everywhere.
Yeah, he went a long way to get that one. And you contrast that to the ball that was dropped in right field earlier by the Marlins. This ball's crushed just like that one was, but he gets back quickly. And the route was pretty good. He had to move over a little bit, and I think that's the win factor. That's what he's talking about. But there was a lot of athleticism in that play by Dexter Fowler.
I asked Willie the other day about the most influential people along the way for him as a young player when he got to the Cardinals after the trade from the Yankees. And he said, you know, there's been so many, but he said Dave Ricketts was huge. He said Dave Ricketts told people, because Willie was so unorthodox, as we all know, in hitting. And he's at the cage, and Dave Ricketts told everybody to shut up and get away from that young man.
Right.
And he said, let him be him. Get away from him. And Willie was very unorthodox. I mean, it wasn't like watching a normal player. I mean, he was different. And he said, Dave, let me be me. And he said that was the difference.
Not only coaching Willie, but I would think if Willie were playing today, it would be the same thing with all the hot zone, cold zone, a lot of the analytics. I think that would just be unhelpful to a guy like Willie, who was a field player. And if you do the hot zone, cold zone, you'd throw him a breaking ball in the dirt and he'd miss it by 2 feet. And you'd say, okay, well, that's a cold zone. Throw it again and he hit it off the scoreboard.
And that's the point.
Because he had the ability to adjust quickly, but it was all athletic adjustment, not coached or analytic adjustment. Not that he's against those things, but I think every player has to know, Dan, what works for them. What balance of numbers and what balance of feel. How do you learn? People learn differently.
You come to spring training, boy, you think about Dave Ricketts, George Kissel. That ball, it's going to be tough here. The speed of Brinson, and safe. As Robinson made it close, but Lewis Brinson, we talked about it, he can get down the line. He has got some of the top speed in all of baseball. Boy, does he get down the line here.
Well, when you're in the right side of the box, you're starting out at a deficit from a left-handed batter. You've got further to run, but he was out of that box in a hurry. He made up for that pretty quickly.
Isan Diaz at the plate, and he's had a couple of fine defensive plays already for the Marlins. As time is called. Diaz joined Lewis Brinson and Monte Harrison, also others in the Christian Yelich deal with the Brewers. He's 5'10". He was drafted out of and that ball gets away. And the ball is at play, and Brinson only winds up at second base.
Well, we've had a pickoff at first. He was trying to get another one. That one in the dirt. Yeah, at first I thought a fan had touched that ball in the corner, and maybe
that's why Brinson stopped.
He thought the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, also Goldschmidt hustled to get it too.
So Diaz, drafted out of his Massachusetts high school, originally by the Diamondbacks in 2014. 2 outs and a runner at second base. Then dealt to the Brewers in a 5-player deal. Gene Segura was part of that in 2016, and now part of the deal gets him to the Marlins. And you know, so much talk about Bryce Harper to the Phillies, but you know, the Phillies, it's not only Harper, but they have loaded up on other very good players, retooled their entire roster.
Good lineup.
Segura being part of that. That maybe should have been a balk. I'm not sure if time was ever granted here. He did ask for time, but I'm not sure it was granted.
Well, he's asking for time. It's not allowed, and yes, that could have been considered a balk. And I think the home plate umpire just decided to kind of go to the fairest part of that and just say, I gave him time, when maybe he didn't.
That's fouled back, 0-2.
It's a little disconcerting for a pitcher when you turn around and he's out of the box, and it throws you for a second. And I think Leon would have been better off just throwing the pitch. He probably would have gotten a strike.
And for a guy that's had arm issues in the past, boy, that's last thing you need. 0-2 the count. Diaz did reach AAA last year, played in 36 games. New Orleans, the check swing taken for a ball low. He's hit at least 13 home runs in each of his last 4 seasons, and not a big guy, but he's got some pop. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2-2. Get a look at the Cardinals alignment defensively, and a big gap in right center.
Trying to hold Brinson close to the bag at second base in case Diaz is able to get a base hit, give the outfielders a chance to throw out the speedy Brinson. This is not the sharpest I've seen Dominic Leone. Last year, I thought the breaking pitches especially were sharper, and it may be a while for him to kind of get back into that top form that he's had. But I do know that Mike Shildt is going to be relying on him quite a bit.
And that's hit out of play. So baseball here, and then the Blues later tonight on Fox Sports Midwest. John Kelly with the play-by-play, and they'll come your way at 6:30. Dallas Stars at Enterprise Center. The 2-2 pitch. That pitch in the dirt. We understand that our 3 telecasts, Ricky, that we've had on Fox Sports Midwest for baseball so far, ratings are up, and I would assume that the interest level quite high with the old St. Louis Blues and the way that they've been playing too.
Oh, you bet. I watch every game. I can't wait to watch them. They're just so much fun the way they're playing, a lot of energy, and you know the Cardinals played with a lot of energy finishing off the season last year, and I think that is what fans like. They want a team that's going to provide some excitement and a lot of hope for 2019 for the Redbirds.
You bet. 3-2 and taken just a bit low. It was interesting. I mean, you think about Major League Baseball, and it was so quiet for a while, but yet the Cardinals go out and you land one of the big fish in Paul Goldschmidt. That's exciting. Then you get Andrew Miller. The way that they finished last year, and we've talked a little bit about it with Mike Shildt being active in the community in the offseason. He did a number of speaking engagements with me and tried to be as visible as he could in the charitable efforts and different engagements in the offseason, and I think that'll grow as he continues to call St. Louis home. 2 outs and 2 on, so I think that's a factor too, is likability, the way that they played in August that you mentioned earlier. And there's the 2 big fish that the Cardinals got, so it's exciting to see what the Cardinals have in this upcoming season.
Well, Goldschmidt, the acquisition of Goldschmidt, it's just stunning to me that that's not been played as a bigger deal. I read an article somewhere where the Cardinals weren't that active in the offseason. No, all they did is they got one of the game's best players. I mean, honestly, he is that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's how good he is. Now, did they get him for 10 years, 13 years? No. But we'll have to wait and see where that goes. But the point is, you need him now. It's an important year, I think, for the organization to make some noise.
And he did go, so now in the hole, 1-2 on Austin Dean.
6-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover. And here's a guy that often finishes in the top 3 in the MVP voting. Durable player and just does a lot of things well. Runs well, defends well, and puts up big numbers. And I do think his presence in the lineup will make others better. John Mozeliak telling us both that on our last telecast, that you know the numbers that he puts up will also affect the guys hitting in front of him and behind him.
It's big numbers there. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Austin Dean. Hit the other way, but there is Fowler to make the catch. And no damage done. Midway through 5. The Cardinals have a 2-0 lead. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Hyundai. The Hyundai SUV lineup has always been better. Now it's bigger. Visit your local Hyundai dealer or buy Hyundai.com today. And by the Missouri Lottery. Every ticket played gives back to Missouri schools. So play it forward with the Missouri Lottery. Slider after slider after slider after slider after slider. It's Sergio Romo.
Here comes a slider.
Even to a lefty. This guy was filthy. 1 point. There's Garrett Cooper. Takes over at first base for the Marlins. Sergio Romo was with Tampa Bay last year, and it was interesting how Tampa Bay went about their bullpen and their starters, as they would take even guys like Sergio Romo. As their study showed, the toughest outs were 1, 2, 3 of an opposing lineup. So they brought in a reliever to start a game. And Romo did this on back-to-back games at times and would go the first inning. And then the starter would come in and give them 4, 5, 6 innings. And they did a little bit of the piggyback, if you will, but they found great success with that. And unfortunately for Tampa Bay, a team that won, what, 90 games, 91, whatever it was, they were in a division with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And Fowler did go. He chased that pitch and strikes out. He's 1 for 3 today. But, you know, they were overshadowed by the other two big teams, Red Sox winning the World Series. But guys like Romo fit that mold by and what was used by Tampa Bay.
You know, I'm not really afraid of change. I think everything evolves in the game of baseball, and the game itself is essentially the same thing it was in the late 1800s when the game first started. But you have to evolve, and you have to kind of learn better ways to doing things. I've got to admit, the logic of starting Romo in a game for Tampa Bay fully escapes me, because those same 1, 2, 3 guys you're talking about, I'd rather, if he is your best pitcher, number one, I'd rather him face those guys in the 9th inning or the 8th inning than the 1st. That's one thing. And number two is, if your starting pitchers are as good as they're supposed to be, then to me they're better pitchers than Romo is in the first place, and let them pitch against 1, 2, 3 to start a game, and of course go those 5 or 6 innings. And that same 1, 2, 3 part of the lineup, the starter has to face at least 2 times anyway. So it escapes me a little bit. I'm not saying never, but not sold on it either.
2 balls and 1 strike on Paul Goldschmidt. Singled on an 0-2 pitch back in the first and walked in the third.
I'd like to see one of those big flies. How about you?
I'm with you.
See how far he can hit it.
2-2. Cardinals with a left-hander throwing in their pen. That might be St. Louis native Tommy Lane. And I believe that is Tommy. That is. Had a nice conversation with Tommy today in the clubhouse. And that pitch outside in a full count. The 3-2 pitch, and he walked him. Baseball is back. StubHub as the best selection of 100% MLB verified tickets right up until the first pitch. StubHub, an official partner of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Well, this has been a typical Paul Goldschmidt offensive afternoon. He's going to get pinch run for it, but on base all 3 times, and does not chase a pitch out of the zone. You know, he's not afraid to get the walk. Such a tough guy to pitch to when he's right. Reminds me in a way of Joey Votto. There are games where they're different type players, but I mean, they're going to have days where they're going to be on base every time.
And that is yanked foul. That is Chase Pinder, I believe, pinch running now for, yep, Chase Pinder with a P. Chase Pinder. And a strike to Marcell Ozuna.
We're seeing more and more minor league faces around the complex now, Dan, with step camp going on, and that's their spring training extra program where they get extra work, they get an extra look, and that's for the prospects, and Pinder is one of them. He played at Clemson.
Yep. He is an outfielder. And he is fast. He's the kind of guy that can steal a base. He's played the infield and can play the outfield. Hits towards the top of a lineup. One ball and two strikes on Marcell Ozuna. Leaning towards second, not running, and taken for a ball. Pinder, by the way, is quite the artist. I'm serious. And that's it out to deep left. But the wind will knock that down.
Do you own any of his works, or tell me more?
Well, I do not. However, he does have 10 really cool pieces, baseball themed, and the one I really like is a sketch of Jackie Robinson. And he's got Jackie in his Brooklyn Dodgers uniform, and a lot of the historic meaning of that. And we know about the history of Jackie Robinson and how important that was to America, not just baseball, but America. And it's really a tremendous piece. I'm going to try to catch up with Mr. Pinder and talk about that. He's really good. Here's Drew Robinson. Robinson is 0 for 2. There he goes. Throw down to second and a stolen base. I told you, Ricky, he can run a little bit.
Runs well for an artist.
I'm not saying he's Picasso running to second base, but that's Chase Pinder.
Good jump. Right to the bag. Hard slide. Nicely done.
Andy Warhol in there sliding safely to second base.
Last artist I remember the Cardinals having was Miguel Batista.
But Bob Tewksbury.
Well, Batista was after Tewksbury.
Oh, that's right.
Tewksbury was before.
Okay.
And I have a Bob Tewksbury original in my basement.
What is it?
It's a picture that he would do caricatures, but he did the bullpen. And,
is it of you?
And I'm in it.
Oh boy. Is it? Can we repeat it?
Scott Terry. He's got Scott Terry. And what he would do is he would draw you with how he saw you. So Scott Terry had a cowboy hat on and the holster with the guns, and and had Frank DiPino and Ken Daly and Lee Smith, twice as big as everybody else in the photo,
right.
just to add.
Well, his hand was
influence.
probably, you know.
No question. Tom Niedenfuhr is in it, actually. But it's one of my favorite pieces.
When was Niedenfuhr with the Cardinals? That was
the year after. It was the year
86?
after. It was. Oh no, it wasn't.
I was going to say, wasn't
no,
that
it was
soon?
88. It was 88.
2-2. Pulled foul. 85 was the Ozzie home run and
Right.
the Clark home run off of Niedenfuhr. Did you guys ever talk to him about it? Did you have the guts to do it? It's kind of an unwritten rule. You don't really talk, right?
You really don't. You know, honestly, I asked Terry Pendleton about the home run that he hit off of Roger McDowell. Those two coached together for several years with the Atlanta Braves and never talked about that home run. I do think it's you just don't bring it up. It's part of your history, part of the other guys, and good for you, bad for him.
Yeah. Strikeout of Robinson. The scoreless frame. Sergio Romo, 2-0 Cardinals. Baseball will continue. Spring training tomorrow. We'll have it for you. The Mets make their way from Port St. Lucie. And we're on the air tomorrow noon St. Louis time. Daniel Ponce de Leon will make that start. And here's a look at our What's on Tap presented by Budweiser. All the games on Fox Sports Midwest tomorrow at noon. And don't forget opening day, the 28th. And a hour-long pregame show. Tommy Lane, his numbers last year in the minor leagues. Boy, was he impressive. 1.24 ERA. 34-year-old left-hander, graduate of Fort Zumwalt South High School. And a non-roster invitee to Cardinals spring training. And I asked him the other day, I said, is it a dream come true? And he said, what do you think? St. Louis native? You bet it is. Excited to be here.
Well, it was a week ago today when we saw him for the first time, and he was outstanding at his first outing this spring.
And a base hit. To me, what makes him interesting, and that's Brian Holiday, big league experience, been here before. So, you know, he's been through the drill. But he's, you know, in this day and age, and Holiday will be pinch run for of guys, Ricky, that are throwing so hard. Tommy Lane is a guy that throws strikes, and he's a guy that keeps the ball down for the most part. And it's a different look. I mean, you know, it's a ground ball, ground ball, ground ball. It strikes, and it's not, you know, 95 to 100.
Right. He's not going to wow you with his velocity. That's for sure. But he's got a little bit of a herky-jerky delivery, which I think might make it difficult to square him up. And you know, it's not, you know, velocity's not everything. Velocity's a lot, but it's not everything.
Pitched at 3 colleges: Southwestern Illinois College, Central Missouri, Mount Olive, which is in North Carolina, drafted in the 26th round, Diamondbacks back in 2007. Here's that delivery.
And here he kind of goes down, goes back up again, and then comes back down. That's kind of the herky-jerky part of it, maybe almost like a 2-part delivery.
And there's your ground ball, slowly hit. Lucan Baker steps on the bag. We'll talk more about Lucan as this game goes along. A top draft choice by the Cardinals. Big kid, and he's at first base.
I'll say
he is a big dude. By the way, Tommy Lane has pitched at Busch Stadium a couple of times. Once he was with the Red Sox, came through to pitch in interleague, got to throw in a couple of games there. But he said to pitch with the Cardinal jersey on, this has been really special for him. And Jim Edmonds, he was looking forward to speaking with Jimmy, who is now a camp instructor and coach. That was one of his favorite players, along with Mark McGwire and some of the others. Here's Garrett Cooper. Mentioned the other day that his brother is a soccer coach and won a state title. He reached out to me and said, Dan, thanks for the shout out. I said, we're going to get that in. Are you kidding me? Come on, man. You bet. Bulldogs won the Class 3 state championship. Jim Lane, head soccer coach at Fort Zumwalt South. And they're certainly proud of Tommy, who's building a home in St. Louis and will live there year round. And you know, I asked Tommy, I said, were you surprised a little bit that you weren't called up at the end of last year? And his numbers, Ricky, were eye-popping, you know, in that stretch run for Memphis. And, you know, wasn't bitter. He just said, well, part of the game, didn't get called up. But I want to prove to them that, you know, I deserve to be in the big leagues. Or if there's another team watching, and there's multiple scouts here. I mean, there's probably 15 scouts at least at the ballpark here that people are watching, and all you do is try to put up zeros and keep on going.
Think there's a big league team that could use another lefty?
Oh, you bet. Look at that. Good pitch. Down and in, and gets a right-hander. And a strikeout for Tommy Lane.
Well, that pitch was very well set up, and that was the killer pitch. But you go pitch by pitch in this at-bat. He starts off with a breaking ball on the outer half. It was just for a strike. Then he gets the fastball. Then he backs him off, fastball in. And then this pitch that has great late movement to it, down and in, finishes him off.
And so he's gotten 2, and now Brian Anderson. And the first pitch, a ball. And it's such a long season, boy. I mean, there's injuries, there's call-ups, changes, trades.
Just be ready.
Just be ready. Here's a 1-0 pitch now. And that's taken down and in. 2 balls and no strikes. So you have Lane Thomas, who is dealing with a little side injury.
Intercostal.
Yeah.
Strain is what they're calling it. They didn't think it was too serious, but you just don't want to mess with that. And he did it on a check swing. And I'm kind of bummed about that. I want to see more of him.
I'm with you.
And I'm not saying we won't before spring training is over, but he's an interesting player. So that's Lane Thomas we're talking about, and this is Tommy Lane.
Get your facts straight, Horton.
That's right.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. A little breaking ball down. John Mozeliak, as we talked last week about all the lefties, he said you kind of put Andrew Miller to the side, and Andrew made his debut last night in a ball game. Numbers weren't great, but just getting his first action. 3-1 and a strike now. 3-2. They have Brett Cecil, Tommy Lane, Chasen Shreve. So a lot of lefties here.
Cervenka,
another one.
Krasinski would be another that we liked. We saw him last weekend.
And the 3-2 down and in. So walk by Lane. Brett Cecil, by the way, will be held out of spring training action until next week. Shoulder was sore. And now he's dealing with that. So Cecil worked around a hit, had a scoreless inning this past week. And he said he's uncomfortable right now, but something not quite right. So the Cardinals are going to push him back on his spring program, allowing him to correct some mechanics, according to Mike Schilt earlier today in his office. And they're going to keep him out of spring games until late next week.
You know, something that's so hard for a pitcher to do, Dan. And of course, that happened with Carlos Martinez, too. He said he just didn't quite bounce back right. The thing didn't feel right. So if you try to throw through that, you may be losing a whole year by doing it.
There's Peter O'Brien. That's a foul ball. They went back and looked at some video. Mike Schilt said that he feels good, but they just want more time to work on a few things, get him right. And Brett Cecil, for fans that have not had a chance to see him, changed his diet and also committed to Pilates. He eliminated eggs, milk, bread, sunflower seeds. He said was really big for him, but he looks different.
Yeah, he does.
So good for him. 1 ball, 1 strike, and a strike by Tommy Lane.
Well, he's trying to get his mechanics right, and every pitcher comes to spring training. You kind of hope you have the right feel. It's not that you can kind of keep it during the winter and go through your mechanics and your motion. I guess you can, but it's not the same as actually competing. And it was obviously a rough year for Brett last year, and he's trying to kind of refine that old form again.
Two and two. Did he go? No, sir. Talked about also that Brett did that last year was tough on him emotionally and physically, so trying to regroup. He's in year 3 of a 4-year contract.
Several personal things came out that he was able to share during the winter that he had to deal with last year that were all going on. Several health issues with family members, and it just a struggle, one thing after another. Felt like it was just kind of getting kicked every new piece of news. And so, you know, you feel for a guy going through that, and then certainly going to affect what happens on the field. It did for him last year, but fresh start this year.
So 2 balls and 2 strikes. Peter O'Brien at the plate, and that pitch down and in.
Speaking of fresh starts, the thing I've enjoyed most about this game today is watching Dexter Fowler play right field. Seems like he is a different guy out there in terms of the defensive side. Learning right field last year, longtime center fielder. Made a couple of very nice plays today.
Also had his first base hit this spring. Runners go, and that's a ball down and in. So a couple of walks. Bases loaded now. Right-hander starts to throw in the Cardinal bullpen. Pena out to visit. And a lefty coming up for Miami. Seen a base hit. We've also seen a couple of walks issued by Tommy Lane.
I believe that's Jake Woodford throwing in the Cardinals bullpen. We've seen him once this spring, and what I saw made me want to see him again. Actually, 2 right-handers. There's Woodford on the left. And Mike Housechild on the right.
Housechild has major league experience. So 2 outs, bases loaded, and a strike.
Woodford's been a starter, so he'll pitch next inning, and Housechild's up just in case Tommy Lane blows a tire here.
JT Riddle at the plate, and there's a base hit into right. 2 runs will score, and we're tied 2-2. That ties it up at 2-2. Riddle with his first base hit this spring. 2-2 our score.
Well, this is a left-hander. This is a guy you've got to be able to handle. Riddle, to me, more of a glove man than an offensive player, though he had decent numbers last year. But I really like the way he plays the infield. Comes up with 2 RBIs.
Lewis Brinson with runners at the corners. Strike 1. At one point, Lewis Brinson was the #1 prospect of the Milwaukee Brewers and was in the top 3 in all of baseball. Marlins made that deal. And a check on runner at first. And sometimes you forget about the prospects. They get overshadowed, and then it just, as you've seen Ricky many times, it just clicks. And
right.
Maybe this spring
right.
it clicks for Lewis Brinson. Nothing in 2. Nothing into the count on Brinson with runners at first and third. It's now Magneuris Sierra, the runner at third base, the former Cardinal. And Sierra has not really caught on with the Marlins. He had the tremendous series against the Marlins and maybe put the deal over the top to get Ozuna.
But it could be just what you said about Sierra. There may be a time where it just clicks.
Yeah.
He's strong, good speed. Low levels of the minor leagues, mid 300 hitters, not just a 300 hitter. I mean, he was a big time hitter. Good outfielder.
The 2-2. A late swing by Brinson. Just got a piece to stay alive. 2-2 the count.
I was warned about it. I remember the first time I shook hands with Magneuris Sierra. Somebody said, not a big guy, but don't be surprised when he shakes your hand because it's going to hurt.
Strong.
Oh, my goodness, strong. Incredible.
And scouts talking before the game today. The key for Brinson, breaking balls. There's a fastball laced into right, and the catch is made. Miami ties it up 2-2. Fox Sports Midwest proud to support Yadier Molina's Foundation for Flavors of Puerto Rico Christmas in Paradise charity dinner. And proceeds from the charity event benefit will help Latino youth in need based in Puerto Rico and in St. Louis. The dinner gala will transport guests into a multi-traditional Puerto Rican Christmas celebration. So go to YadierMolinaFord.com for more information or to become a corporate event sponsor.
Tyron Guerrero will pitch for the Marlins. This guy can get it up there in a hurry. Good live fastball.
We've seen him before, and he is hit down here triple digits.
Christmas in Puerto Rico, you say?
You got it.
I had one of those.
Winter ball.
Went up into the mountains and had just an absolutely fantastic time with teammates in a special team party for Christmas. It was festive, fun, done very well.
Well, how hard can he throw? Last year, StatCast recorded Mr. Guerrero at 104 miles per hour against the Atlanta Braves in a game. So there you go. He had 2 of the 18 fastest pitches recorded in 2018. Jairo Munoz at the plate. Speaking of Yadier Molina, there was a study that came out this last week. During the last 10 years, Yadi has caught almost 1,700 more innings than any other team's primary catcher. Most teams clearly have had several of them. Cardinals have had Yadi there. So the idea is that the backup catcher has been one of the least busy jobs in baseball. Matt Wieters, for those that don't know, was signed by the Cardinals and will battle it out with Francisco Pena, who's on deck and has a couple of hits and a caught stealing, throwing here today. And Matt Wieters was on the backfields. I was there today and watching, and he was taking at bats against live pitching, lefty and righties, a switch hitter, former All-Star with Baltimore and with last couple of years with the Nationals. 4.63 double play. Some of the numbers on Matt Wieters, signed by the Cardinals this past week.
4-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glover. Of course, that matters if you're talking about a backup catcher. Thing that strikes me about Wieters is when he had his press conference and was meeting all of us the first day he got here. First of all, very delightful guy, but he said the thing that struck me is he said, look, I've got 10 years of experience, but I'm looking forward to learning from a guy who has 20.
You know what struck me?
Talking about Molina.
When asked why St. Louis from the media, as Pena fouls it back, he said, well, it was pretty easy. It was the only team that offered me a deal. It's a minor league deal. He was very blunt and honest about that. He said it was the only team that offered me a chance to play, so that's why I'm here.
It's funny, sometimes we say, you know, why does a person decide to do this? Well, if there's only one option.
There you go. Francisco telling me that the other day that Tony Pena, what a great player he was.
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh and St. Louis, but Tony Pena, his father, is doing well. Catches a game here or there, but said things are going great, in very good health, and not coaching, doesn't really miss it, as he coached with the Yankees for so many years. Francisco 5 for 10 this spring. Ouch. Can he leg it out? Guerrero throws, and it's in the dirt and dug out by Cooper at first. We head to the 7th, and we're tied up 2-2. Mike Housechild is the new pitcher. 2-2 our score, and he's had big league time, hasn't he, Ricky?
He has. He's pitched for the Toronto Blue Jays as well as the Texas Rangers in the big leagues, and this is a guy that was not a high round choice, but found his way in the big leagues, 33rd round, in fact. And he got to the big leagues with Texas in 2017. And he's been used as both a starter and a reliever in his career. Cardinals signed him as a minor league free agent, just giving him a chance. And he's getting another one here today, and that's what spring training is. Dan, a series of opportunities and chances to show what you've got, what you've improved from a year ago.
Now, when we visit with this big right-hander, and if he's not nice to us,
yeah,
I'm not going to be real happy. Now, I have briefly spoken to Mike. Seemed like a fine guy, but I haven't had the chance to extensively talk to. We got a lot of guys here. We try to find out more about
65 to be exact.
So
65.
I'm going to try to find out more when I have the chance to catch up with him. But there's a reason I say that.
I'm waiting.
My understanding is, on a hop to second and the out, his dad is the director of media relations, Doug, at Dayton. And so he's been there a long time. So you would think that Mike then would understand, you would hope, the importance of a guy like you in trying to explain, being a media member that you are, Ricky, the importance of our jobs in getting the story out and getting to the bottom of things. And so
if he says no comment, or I'm not talking to you, or who do you, oh, you media crazy people, if he says that, we're going to have some trouble. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Well, you know, he is 6'2", 235, so
I'll let you do the arguing.
Good luck.
I'll get behind you and I'll say whatever he said. Yeah. What Ricky said, Mike.
I would say for a guy that was a 33rd round choice, he's probably learned to appreciate whatever the next level brings.
Pretty cool, though, huh?
Now, there are times where a player is a high round choice because they're thinking that you're not signable. It's not that you're not a good player. So that's not always a good indicator. And the best one of all to think about that with is Keith Hernandez, who's on our list for potential Cardinal Hall of Fame consideration. I believe he was in the 40th round.
Signability, though, is behind that.
100% right.
I'm enjoying his book, by the way. Time to stretch. It's 2-2.
You're reading?
Marlins and the Cardinals, and we're tied 2-2. Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium here in Jupiter, along with Ray Corden. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Edmundo Sosa saw him briefly in the big leagues last year, and we saw that he can handle the shortstop position quite well defensively. He's at second base today, and Fouls that back. He is on the Cardinals 40-man roster. Jeff Brigham was a 4th round pick in 2014 by the Dodgers. It's acquired by Miami. It's a really big deal in 15 involving the Braves, Dodgers, Marlins, 13 players, and he was one of the 13.
I was thinking about that about the Marlins, and one of the things that they have to overcome, Dan. We've talked several times during this game about guys that came over in this trade for him and this trade for him. So for them to establish a core identity, they're going to have to get to know each other a little. I mean, these are not guys that have much experience together. Conversely, the Cardinal organization, a guy like Sosa, who's been with the Cardinals, been up through the system, learned from guys like Pop Warner and Mark DeJean, and now Pop, of course, is up here, and Mike Schilt and Ollie Marmol. He's part of the system and part of the culture already.
Popped up. And the catch is made. Cardinals spring training baseball always live with MLB at bat. Follow the action through game day. Watch video highlights, track stat standings, breaking news, and more. Download MLB at bat now. Here's Tommy Edman. So if you like Daniel Descalso, if you get a chance to see Tommy swing the bat, you might see a little bit of Daniel Descalso in this swing. Daniel signing a 2-year deal to go to the Chicago Cubs. Cardinals did have interest. Tommy from Stanford, 5'10", 180 pounds, 6th round pick in 2016. He climbed 3 levels to AA. First full season, then went to AAA in his second. And he rips that out to deep right field at the wall. And it's off the base of the wall. Edman to second base, and he'll stop right there with a 1-out double here in the home half of the second.
Oh, he thought about 3 too, Dan. I like the way he swings the bat. There's a Descalso type swing. We saw this kind of a sweeping swing from the left side, and that ball almost got out of here. Got to the base of the wall on the short hop, and Edman running very hard to second base. Thought about 3, but he's going to give Luken Baker a chance to drive him in.
Now Baker is 21. He'll be 22 on the 10th of March out of Spring, Texas. This is a big kid. Went to TCU. Astros selected him 37th round in 2015. Instead, he enrolled at TCU. It's the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. And pick off and back in safely. Baker drafted 76th overall by the Cardinals last year. Made his pro debut, Gulf Coast League. Hit 508 games, promoted to Peoria. Hit 288, 3 home runs, and 15 driven in. My understanding too, Ricky, and I'm going to try to find out more about this, but he was on the mound as well. I was told he was a guy that could throw 95 to 96. And would the Cardinals entertain that at some point as well? Who knows?
Certainly something to think about. We've seen pitchers become hitters and hitters become pitchers. We know how that goes. Jason Mott, Sam Tuivalala, Bob Forsch, Rick Ankiel, who did it and is not done doing it, going back and forth from pitching to hitting.
I had a long conversation with Rick this past week, and he'll be with those that are rehabbing injuries basically starting this week. Slow process. Baker hits it on the ground is short. Edman back to the bag at second base, and so what he'll do, talking with Rick, is that he is going to rehab with those players, and then after about a month, see where he's at, how he feels, and then visit with the Cardinals front office, officially sign a contract, and then go to single A, double A, preferably here. You know, his family's here, lives in the area. Get some innings under his belt, get better competition after that point. And let's see where Rick Ankiel goes. Can you imagine?
No.
What it might be like late August or September if Rick Ankiel is pitching well, and it's not just, hey, let's just bring him up. I mean, doing something special and gets on a mound in St. Louis.
Well, it's hard to imagine that he would get to the big leagues as a hitter. For anybody that was away from hitting as long as he was as a pitcher in the big leagues, and then to actually go back to the minor leagues and refine his stroke. It's one thing for a pitcher to take batting practice. That's one thing. But to be hitting all day long, to play every day, that's a different thing. And the day that Walt Jocketty told me that the #1 power prospect in the Cardinal minor league system, when I asked him that question, he said very quickly, it's Rick Ankiel.
It's incredible.
And it's just an amazing story. And he deserves so much credit, Dan, for his perseverance mentally to be strong enough to handle the adversity that he had and get through it and get past it.
Chase Pinder at the plate, and he was helping out some young kids that had, lack of a better term, the yips here locally, and playing catch with them, and the arm was feeling good. And that's kind of how this all started. And then there was even some Hall of Famers that were playing in a game last year, and he was playing in this game, and they said, are you going to get on the mound? And he said, I'm going to do it. Got on the mound, throwing hard as Pinder hits a fly ball into right, threw strikes, beat the demons, if you will, and the curveball never left him. And at that point, he said, I want to do this, and my kids, they'd love to see it, and I think all of us would love to see it one more time. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you in part by Budweiser. Wherever legendary MLB moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Ford, the official car and truck of the St. Louis Cardinals. Beautiful day here in Jupiter, Florida. 2-2 our score, top of the 8th. Jake Woodford, we saw him make a start. First week of spring training, now coming in relief. Brian Miller at the plate.
Started Monday against the Tigers, and he went 2 innings in that game, and they did give up a couple of runs, Dan, but boy, I saw a lot that I liked in this right-hander.
Another high draft choice by the Cardinals, and as we mentioned in that start against Detroit, now has grown into the body. When he began as a pro, was throwing around 88, 89, and now he is around, and that's a good pitch there. Good late break, but now throwing mid-90s. Inside.
Mid-90s is right. That last pitch at 95 miles an hour. He has a what I would say would be a little bit of a fast delivery. He's not real I mean, he's not slow at all. He goes quick. Once he starts, body moves fast, he moves fast, and there's a lot of effort in that. You know, some pitchers will like to get a little bit of a pause at the top. There's no pause in there. It's just fast. Everything's fast twitch.
First round draft pick, 2015, and 39th overall. Hit out of play.
One thing that baseball has learned, I talked about earlier, Dan, about baseball adapting and evolving and making changes. I think baseball training people have started to understand that you're using fast twitch muscles a lot in what you do on the field, whether you're pitching, hitting, swinging the bat, playing the outfield, running bases, and a lot of the training was slow twitch training, running long distances. Well, you don't see players doing that anymore. They're doing sprint stuff, and it seems to translate better to performance. There's Woodford's career numbers in the minor leagues.
One of the Cardinal instructors that we'll see this week is Jason Isringhausen. We talk a lot about Izzy and Braden Looper still involved with the organization that help many of these young pitchers, and many of those guys now have graduated to the major leagues, and they just back in safely, but they talk very, very highly about this guy on the mound and how much he's matured into his body and the stuff that just continues to get better and better and better. They think he's going to be a factor at some point. Now, what role that may be, who knows, but they think he's on the cusp of being a major leaguer.
Well, if it's a big league role, you take it.
Runner goes on the 1-0, so that will avoid the double play, and everybody's safe. Gets away by Baker and into the camera well. Runner will stay put at third base, so runners now at second and third, and Woodford in some trouble now. They're on Edman.
Almost like
he at second and third.
Tried to be a little bit too quick with that, just rushed it a bit. Here's the ground ball. The runner's moving, so he'd have been at second anyway, and just took an eye off of it, perhaps just for a second, and then threw it away. So that'll be 2 errors, I would think, on Edman on that play. One allowing him to be safe, and the other allowing the runners to advance to second and third.
Yadiel Rivera, we've seen him up.
Yes, we have.
So the infield in, and the 1-0 popped up. Baker over. Can't give up on it with the win, but that'll take it out of play. So Daniel Ponce de Leon will go tomorrow. That's against the Mets. 2/3 of an inning in relief. That was against Washington. Allowed 3 runs, walked 3, and so really a chance to erase that. Ricky tomorrow, he'll get that start. One ball and 1 strike.
You just had one of those days you have in spring training, Dan, where you just don't feel it, and it's just you're off, and then you try to make an adjustment and it makes it worse. He was all over the place.
Yeah.
A guy that's got good command, but I believe it was 70% of his pitches were out of the strike zone. So it'll be good to have him kind of erase that, get back out on the mound again, start over.
So there it is, the infield in. Late innings. Nobody out here in the top of the 8th, second and third. Fly ball, left field. Will they send him? Shallow left. Catch is made. It's a strike to the plate, and he is safe. And the run scores, and the Marlins have a 3-2 lead. The throw by Randy Arozarena. They take a chance, and the Marlins have a 1-run lead.
Well, it was a strong throw, Danny. I liked he did everything right, stayed behind it. It was up the line just a little bit, so Martinez on the tag. He must have missed him because the throw looked like it beat him. There's the throw, offline just a tad, not much. It has to go up the line, and did he tag him or not? Let's see from this angle. Very close. We will not be replaying that or reviewing it.
Sierra quickly to first, and they get him. Whew. What, does he get down the line or what?
I guess if we were wondering if he could still run or not, we got our we got our question answered.
He could run.
Wow.
Dixon Machado. One ball and no strikes with 2 outs. Nice crowd on hand. Hit into shallow center, and the catch is made. Our crowd today, it's over 5,000. 5,638 here at Roger Dean Stadium, and a beautiful afternoon. Beautiful day here in Florida. Glad that you're with us. It's Cardinals baseball. And this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the St. Louis Cardinals. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals.
This was taken yesterday, Dan. That's you and me out having a little fun.
Well, we brought you back, and you're a tough negotiator. And that was part of your signing bonus to get that beautiful boat.
I'd be scared to death to be in that boat.
But you're back. And here we are.
Plenty to do down here in Florida.
Oh, boy.
Including come to Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium and watch Cardinal baseball. That's got to be high on the list.
Well, you got to do it. If you have the means and can get away from work and get away from the cold, come on down. It's bucket list.
Yes.
Roger Dean Stadium and spring training, and the games are fun because you're in a minor league ballpark here, so you're really up close to the major league players. But the backfields, which is beyond the center field wall, and if we pan a little bit more left and keep going, you would see behind that center field wall. And that's where those backfields are there. And that's the Cardinals complex on the right, the Marlins on the left, but all the way back there. And they have essentially what would be, your ticket takers, if you will. But it's free back there. And you can go back. And today I was there watching Matt Wieters, Yadier Molina. And there it is, some of that. And you're up close. I mean, you're just a few feet away from some of your favorite players.
So when we say backfields, there are several playing surfaces. There are 5 fields that the Cardinals use. And if you go further beyond the Marlins clubhouse, which is over the left field wall, they have 5 of their own. So there's all kinds of baseball going on in the backfield. So you can watch the Cardinals beyond the center field wall here. But if you go beyond the Marlins clubhouse, which is in left field, you can go watch some Marlins play too.
Yanked foul. Land of Oz, where Cardinal infielders become wizards, as Ozzie was down here at spring training.
So fitting, isn't it? We also heard from Bruce Sutter on our last telecast. Didn't have a chance to bring that up, but he texted me during the game and was not able to make it down this year, but was asked by Mike Schilt to come down. Just didn't work out. And always loved seeing Bruce Sutter. He did make it to our fantasy camp, and everybody, and I mean everybody at the camp, loves Bruce.
Tremendous man. 2-2, and a strikeout of Schrock.
This is Zach Gallen, who was a Cardinal. A high round pick for the Cardinal from North Carolina. And was part of the Ozuna trade along with Sierra.
Cardinals and Marlins, they see each other so much, have not been shy over the years with trades. Think about Looper and Renteria many years ago. Ozuna, that deal. Barraclough. And that was Steve Cishek. Cardinals picked up Steve Cishek, the sidewinder that was with Chicago last year. That's the thing. I mean, you see each other so much. I mean,
right.
How do you not know each other's teams so well?
And not playing in the same division, you're more apt to make deals. and they don't have to get a new spring training home if you trade him during spring training.
Just move right on over.
That's a silly thing, but not so silly when you're the person that actually has to do it. I was traded during spring training.
You went from
the Cardinals to the White Sox. Now, I always came down early, so I was here earlier, and they didn't know I was here, but they found me and let me know I was no longer a Cardinal. And fortunately, the White Sox were training in Sarasota, which was not very far from St. Pete, so I had I'm not sure how long that drive was, probably 40-minute drive, and got to stay in the same place anyway.
Makes it a little better.
But had to go retool a bit, get a new uniform, get new sleeves, get new shoe color, all those things.
And back-to-back strikeouts. Must be pretty good late movement on that Gallen off-speed pitch.
Well, when you get the caught looking, it's got to be that. It's got to be late movement. He thinks it's outside, and it just hits that outside corner.
There's Jairo Munoz, center fielder today.
Well, we're getting a lot of looks at Munoz, Robinson, Schrock, Edman. Seems like they're playing all the time. And I think if you're the Cardinals management team, and that goes to the front office, it goes to the coaches on the bench, you're looking for anything that distinguishes that, you know what, I see this guy can do that now. Didn't know that. And of course you're going to be aware of things that they're not doing well, but you're looking for how they might fit into the puzzle you're trying to put together.
And the 0-2 pitch. Telling you, there must be something they're just not picking up. I mean, that looked very good too. Oh boy, and that hits Munoz.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And medical team out. Here comes Mike Shildt.
Boy, that hit him good. You could hear it all the way up here, Danny. You talk about not picking up the ball. I don't think Munoz saw that one till late either. And unfortunately, this is the result. Up and in, and that looks like the left hand or wrist, and you could tell he was in big time pain. Oh my. Boy, I just hate to see that. I hate to see that with anybody anytime, but when you're talking about spring training starting a year and you get hit like that, let's just hope it's a bruise.
It's the left wrist or hand that they're addressing now, and oh boy. And Munoz was such a sensational bench player coming out of nowhere really for the Cardinals last year. And John Mozeliak is here, Michael Gersh watching with the scouts, and I could see them from the booth here. I mean, everybody with concern here. I mean, that is a key player for the St. Louis Cardinals, potentially. It's also the Cardinals interpreter down there. There on the left, that's Carlos that helps, and that's John Mozeliak there and Michael Gersh. Mo on the left, Gersh on the right.
We will be very anxious as we await the x-rays that will take place on the left hand of Jairo Munoz. Let's hope it's all negative.
Alberto Trunfel is the pinch runner. Randy Arozarena will hit now with the Cardinals trailing 3-2. And strike one. One pitch instead of check on. Runner at first base. Reminder, we have St. Louis Blues hockey coming up. St. Louis time 6:30. Pre-game show, the Dallas Stars at Enterprise Center. Here's the 0-1. They pitch out and undoing. 1 ball, 1 strike. Woodford will pitch another inning. No activity for the Cardinals in their bullpen. Ricky talked about it. 65 players right now in the Cardinals spring roster, including 25 non-roster invitees. Youngest player in camp is Dylan Carlson. We saw him a lot early on. He's 20.
And we like what we've seen from him. You can certainly see the tools with Dylan Carlson.
Here's a 1-2 and a base hit into left. So the tying run at second base. The go ahead at first base. And it'll be the catcher Martinez.
Good at bat for Arozarena. He's had a nice day, a couple of hits.
He's talking with Ortega, who is a backup catcher here from Venezuela. And we were mentioning this as we were connecting yesterday, Ricky, how important and how long these games can be and camp can be for a catcher. It gets a call up because they've got so many pitchers to catch here in camp. And that's the case for Martinez here.
Ortega, the catcher you were mentioning, just 21 from Venezuela.
This is Jeremy Martinez. He was 4th round selection in 2016.
So these young guys just getting experience. Got to have a lot of catchers in spring training.
This young man out of USC moved from first base to catcher after his sophomore year. Actually was a semifinalist for the Johnny Bench Award. His career batting mark in college was .324. He had tremendous numbers at USC. Late with that swing. To Mater Dei High School, one of the great high schools for football and baseball in the state of California. All-American coming out of high school and then went to USC. One ball and 2 strikes. Hits it the other way. This game is at least tied. 1 run will score. Martinez has tied it up. Here comes another. And the Cardinals have taken the lead. 2 balls come in. Or is that a cup? It doesn't matter. Something coming flying in from the Cardinals bullpen. It was a cup and a baseball. And the Cardinals have a lead. They'll take it 4-3.
I can't believe that. I did not know where the cup came from. There's a hit down the line. So I guess the chairs were in play. He had to go underneath the chairs to get the baseball. Did he throw the baseball with inside of a cup? Is that possible? Where did that cup come from?
I love it.
I saw it the same way you did live, that there were actually 2 baseballs on the field. There's the ball underneath the chairs. Where is it? I'm not even sure he picked up the same ball or not. There's the baseball.
It was a bullpen ball, I think, that was in a cup. and he just picked one of them up, and he said, well, I'll just take this one. And he threw the one that it was in a cup.
Watch this. It bounces, boom. And that's the I've never seen it.
I love it.
So the real baseball is probably still
somewhere under there.
Keep running. Keep running. Oh, I would love to see a review on that one. Danny, that's unbelievable.
It really is.
So let's see. There's a couple. There's a ball here. Okay, I'll get that one. Okay, well, there is a cup in that one.
That's great.
That's a pretty strong arm with a baseball in a cup.
Yes. There's a fly ball lifted out to Sierra. And the catch is made.
See something new every spring training, Danny.
Jeremy Martinez drives in a couple. Cardinals have the lead 4-3. Michael Wacha, the starter today, very, very good.
He's our Budweiser player of the game, deservedly so. 3 solid innings from Wacha. Looked like he was in midseason form, really had all of his pitches working, and the thing that impressed me about Wacha was the life on his fastball. It just had jump to it. And we'll see if Jake Woodford can finish this off for the Cardinals here in the 9th inning.
Chance to pick up a win for St. Louis. 4-3 Cardinals. Now the Cardinals do have a couple of relievers going right now. Sharif Uthman is the batter. Lefty and a righty throwing for St. Louis. And Jeremy Martinez with that base hit to right, scoring 2. It's rare. Talk about a baseball, and that baseball is coming back in play with a cup. But we had it.
Well, they tell you from a very young age, when you're going to go play baseball, don't forget your cup.
And that's the point.
I thought I understood what they meant when they said that, but perhaps that
took on a new meaning.
Took on a new meaning is right.
And with that, we move forward.
It's the only place we can go.
The 2-2. Broken bat popped up. Woodford battling the sun, and he makes the catch. I mean, even right there, you can just see how tough this would be for a left fielder at this ballpark.
Yes.
Great to have our director with us, the esteemed award-winning Tom Mee. He's back with us today.
Ooh.
What's your reaction to the replay or to Tom Mee?
Oh, the replay. No.
Oh.
Well,
a little bit of both?
Yeah. No, of course. Happy to see Tom Mee. Love Tom Mee.
Alan Stout is our producer today. He's done a great job. Here's Devin Marrero. 1 ball and 1 strike. So Tom Mee said, look at this shot, how treacherous that could be for the outfielders. Sun shining so brightly as they look back at the home plate. And it's 2-2. So you got the shades on in the outfield. It's Drew Robinson can play the infield or the outfield. And a strikeout for Woodford. The fastball at 95.
Now that's the live arm. That's what you get excited about. Cardinals continue to have young player after young player with the big arms, and Woodford can add him to that list.
And there's strike one. So the Cardinals getting the 2 runs with 2 outs to regain the lead in the bottom of the 8th, and now 1 out away from winning this ball game. The 0-1 pitch in the dirt. This is John Birdie at the plate. And the 1-1. See also with Woodford, he's had some of that late movement too at that breaking pitch.
Yeah, working quickly, not just his delivery, but not much time between pitches. Like what I see from him.
And there's a strike. And the Cardinals 1 strike away. If St. Louis can hold on, they would even up the spring record to 500. They would be 3-3-2. The 2-2 on its way. Just a little bit high. Three-two. And the tying run is aboard. So the ball game extended with a walk. Again, a reminder that we're on the air tomorrow at noon St. Louis time. Mets will be here, and hockey coming up later tonight. We are your home of St. Louis Cardinals baseball and hockey. Hockey later tonight, 6:30 St. Louis time. And this is only game number 4 of 15 spring contest on Fox Sports Midwest. 2 outs, runner at first. And Monte Harrison takes strike 1. Well, 1 pitch instead a check on the runner at first base.
Danny, we've heard from several people who are so excited that Cardinal baseball is back on the air and they're watching Cardinal games again, and I know you feel the same way I do.
You bet.
I'm glad that we're back doing them again.
Great time of year. Turn the calendar to March. You would like to think the weather would be turning back home in St. Louis. We understand that it's quite chilly back home and a cold weekend, inclement weather coming in, so get ready for a little Cardinal baseball this weekend, today and tomorrow. But March Madness is here with basketball, and Blues are playing well, and Cardinal baseball back. It's fun. 0-2, and again the Marlins down to their final strike. I have to be paired up with you again, but I'll forge.
But you're making do.
Yeah, I'll move forward. Good to be back with you. Love it. 0-2 pitch. Take it high. Yeah, the baseball season ends. I'm with you for every day for about 7 months, and all of a sudden I don't see you.
Yeah, and we talk to each other on the phone every day, and here we are again.
And here we go. One ball and 2 strikes. Monte Harrison. He struck him out. Good work. Woodford and the Cardinals pick up a 4-3 win.
Well, I like what I saw at the start of the game with Michael Wacha throwing hard and having good stuff. Jake Woodford ends up the same way. Good outing for him, and I really did like what I saw from Dexter Fowler today. Gets his first hit of the spring, plays a very good right field, and the Cardinals come from behind with a 2-run bottom of the 8th.
Like to see that. And the Cardinals back to 500. 4-3. Back to wrap it up in a moment.